Hello everybody, this is Jannica. I'm now in beautiful Ubud at the Bali Spirit Festival and I'm here with Tyrone Beverly. He is a very gifted and inspiring yoga teacher. He's passionate about equality and human rights, and he has created and founded ImUnique, which we will speak more about. Hello Tyrone, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Are you enjoying the festival so far?
Very much so. A lot of good people from all over the world, and it's always a good time to connect with new people.
Yeah. So I'm curious why you got into yoga in the first place. I know that you were grown up or you had a neighborhood that was kind of rough, violent, with a lot of drugs. Was that the reason why you kind of felt like you had to take responsibility for yourself and do something else?
Yeah, for me, I was always interested in kind of thinking about life differently, and martial arts was actually my beginning stage. I was never in martial arts, but I seen the discipline in the martial arts movies and things of that nature. People like Bruce Lee and Jean-Claude Van Damme, and just the discipline that they had. And Bruce Lee had said something that was intriguing to me. He said the art of fighting without fighting. And in the communities I was raised in, there was a lot of fighting, there was a lot of violence. And to learn the art of fighting without fighting garnered a lot of interest for me, and I went to go look for a Bruce Lee conditioning video to just try to train myself physically, mentally, emotionally, and I didn't find one, but instead I found a yoga video. It's a VHS, so it was a long, long time ago, and I went home and I practiced it and fell in love with it at that point, and then I started practicing every single day. So that was the inception of my introduction to the yoga practice. So I was never looking for yoga. I had no idea what it was. It kind of organically happened just from my interest around discipline.
And you're kind of known for having classes with quite the diversity. There are so many different people coming to your classes, and I think that's so great, because even I feel sometimes that, oh, I'm not, fit enough to go into a yoga class, or I'm not especially flexible enough.
I think there's a lot of misconceptions around who can do yoga and who yoga caters to, but yoga is for all people. But when I first started practicing and when I first started teaching, the classes were never diverse. There was only one particular person in the class, and there was an experience that I had where a lady kind of looked me up and down and she said, "Are you the instructor?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." And she walked away. And she came back and she apologized over time and said, "I judged you just off of your appearance. I've never seen anyone who looks like you, but I've heard good things and I apologize. And I just want to let you know that I judged you just off of your appearance because I've never seen anyone who looks like you." So that was a seed that was planted to let me know that it's time to change the face of what yoga is.
Right, so that was a gift in a way.
It was definitely a gift, yes. Yeah, so that was a beautiful experience. And then we had people coming in to the practice who never practiced before. And they said, "I really love this. I just never seen anyone who reflected me. So I never thought it was for me." So it was going on both ends. There were people, who weren't welcoming into the environment. And there were people who were not coming because they've never seen themselves represented in those environments. So just being in that environment allowed different people to come in, and then being able to say that it's for all of us, no matter where you are, no matter your walk of life, no matter your background, no matter your physical limitations. It's not just about the asana either, and that's one thing that we focus on. Sometimes we think.
So what is asana?
So the asana, the physical application, the physical poses. Those are the things that we put most emphasis on. It seems that gets most of the attention, but when we think of people like Gandhi or Martin Luther King, we understand like ahimsa, which means nonviolent, being nonviolent to yourself, nonviolent to your community, and that was used and predicated off of the yoga foundation. So people aren't aware of those attributes that yoga contributes to a better world as well. So that's really where my focus is now, is making those contributions to really improve our overall well-being.
Well, that's so beautiful. I love it. And everything is evolving all the time, and life is change. That's the only certain thing, that life is change. So tell us about ImUnique. Where did that come from and what is that about?
So ImUnique is a nonprofit organization based out of Denver, Colorado, out in the United States. And it's an organization with the mission of to create a culture of health, individual growth, and social change. So dealing with the individual, but also dealing with the wider community to create better living environments and to create better lived experience. We feel like culture influences behavior. So if we can create a culture that is conducive for one's overall well-being, then we're going to have healthier people, we're going to have happier people, and people won't be stressed out. Research suggests that over each individual person has around 20 to 50,000 thoughts a day, and 70% are negative.
Yeah.
So that just means that we have to change the culture and influence a different kind of behavior amongst each other and not be so critical of one another, but more so supportive, so we can actually grow as a collective and have a better lived experience.
And not so critical of ourselves, maybe.
Not so critical of ourselves in a negative way, but being mindful of how we show up in the world and how we contribute. Those are the things that I find that are really important. Like, sometimes we think our practice happens on the mat, but when you roll that mat up, it's still in motion. So you have to continue on the path to create a more harmonious approach to living.
So how does that happen practically? Like, do you have Dharma talks, or because I saw interviewing Timmy Howard, I don't know if I pronounced it correct, but she has started having like Dharma talks and what is it called, satsangs at her studio. Like, are you a speaker as well? So you speak to like your students, or how is this philosophy coming like forward? In a way.
Yeah, so we do it in many different ways. It's not just one formula. We do it in many different ways. We have a program called Breaking Bread and Breaking Barriers. And what that consists of is having issues brought in from the community, like what is the community concerned about? And then we bring in different groups of people who actually don't get along. So back in the States, we bring in like law enforcement, so police officers with people who don't like police officers, and we have them sit down and share a meal together and have conversation and talk about how we can improve our relationships. And at the beginning of the conversation, it's very intense. We start off with the asana, the physical application with yoga, and then we go into conversation to where everyone has a voice. So it's not just me talking, telling you this is how we should be living, but it's giving a voice to everybody in the room so they can talk about their issues, and then we see what is a viable alternative to address the problems at hand, and we come up with solutions from that. So it's an action-based conversation that's not just saying this is a philosophy, but it's more than that, because it becomes a lifestyle and it gives people a different perspective. Sometimes we only see from our own point of view and we have a limited understanding of what's really taking place, but when we hear the person on the other side of the narrative, now we have a deeper understanding of each other. And essentially, I once heard that love means the understanding of connectedness. So when you have no love, you don't understand your connection with the world around you. So if you understand love in that capacity, now you have a different relationship with love, because we understand one another in a deeper way. So that's what we do, is bring the community together in a way to have a conversation and talk about action steps. From that point on becomes a lifestyle, and we begin to live and breathe the path. And we do that every single week. So it's not just a one-off event here and there, but it's something that we do very consistently in different locations to get the entire community involved. So it's just not one demographic, it's not one set of people, but it's everyone who's in those communities who shows up. Everyone's invited, no one's turned away.
It's so great. You're such a great role model, and I'm just reminded of how much one person can do. And so where do you get that inspiration?
I can never take credit by myself. There's a lot of people who contribute. There's a lot of people who show up. So anybody who's there, I consider them a contributor, whether they're volunteering or they're participating. I think it's a collective effort, and we're all co-creating this experience. So for me to say, oh, this is me making all this happen, it's people who are caring and compassionate and willing to do the work to make it happen. And I'm inspired when I see other people who are inspired too, and realizing that we're all on the same path and we all have something to contribute. And I think that's one thing that we forget over time, because society weighs us down and tells us that we're not worthy, we're not good enough, you can't change the world, but we can actually change what's in our reach. And I think those are the things that we focus on as a collective. So my inspiration comes from the inspiration of the community and just people's excitement and joy and laughter and endless possibilities. I feel like we can really create some change, but it's going to be on us to do it every single day.
Yeah, and I love how we inspire each other. Like you inspire me now, and I hope I can inspire you in some way.
Absolutely.
And then it's a win-win all the time. I think when we move and step into our own empowerment, then that helps others to do the same. Can you speak a little bit about like how our inner world is reflected in the outer world? Because I know that you've spoken a little bit about this.
Our inner world and the outer world. I once heard that the average adult is recovering from their childhood, and you spend a lifetime recovering from all the trauma that has taken place throughout the years. So when you come of age, that's your world, that's your reality. And then once you see someone else who can show you a different perspective and a different understanding, you begin to have that inner world shaken up a little bit. The trauma and the pain begins to unravel, and you say there's another way to experience this life. And that's why exposure is so important, because exposure can change the neuroplasticity. The exposure can change your perception of what the world is, and it can show you the beauty. So the inner world, it plays such a big role on how you show up every single day, because those are the voices that are in your head telling you what's taking place and what's not taking place. And sometimes you have a lens just to see pain. And the inner world will tell you that the world is a scary place. It's a painful place, and you want to stay indoors because it's scary outside. But then once you see outside that window and someone tells you something different, now you can see this abundance of beauty all around you. And that's the beauty of exposure. So I think the inner world and the outer world are in perfect harmony when you find out that they are interconnected. And if you divide the two, then there's going to be this place of darkness, because you're going to be favoring either one side. Because sometimes you can only see the beauty and not be able to reflect and experience someone else's pain, which that too can be a very oppressive mind state to have, to not be able to see from someone else's point of view and someone else's struggle and walk over them in the process. So you want to make sure that you have a balance in the two, to understand that there's polarity to this. There's two sides. There's some duality to this, and I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah, and I think that's the balance of life, and that's like the Earth we live in right now. I don't know about other planets, but right here is like the duality, yin and yang, and everything. So just to wrap this up and going back to yoga, somewhere I think it was your workshop now where it said that not rewiring your brain, but it had something to do with the change, the echoes in the mind or something like that. And it had something to do with neuroplasticity. And I was interested in that. Like, does yoga change something in your mind?
Absolutely.
Your brain?
Absolutely. So what we call, just simply put, so people who may not be familiar with it, we call it reassigning energy. Einstein.
That was it.
Einstein found out that energy doesn't die. So if you think about, if you get angry, so if you get angry about something, it turns into one thing, and then one turns into two, and then two turns into four, four turns into eight, and it continues to keep adding on. And in your life, you start looking for many things that are negative. And if you don't reassign that kind of energy, it's going to consume your life. So the whole class is predicated on learning how to reassign and utilize the energy that may be in a position that's not really serving you into the energy that's serving you. And those are the things that we focus on in the reassigning energy class, because it doesn't die, so it must be reassigned and repurposed to create the life that you desire.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
And I know you have a lot of interviews and some more workshops, so good luck with that.
I thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure. I appreciate it.
And thank you so much for watching, guys. Much light from beautiful Ubud in Bali. Bye-bye.